Just a few short weeks ago, I made it out to SeaWorld San Diego. I was able to ride Manta, their multi-launching family roller coaster from Mack Rides. This roller coaster serves as a counter-programming, as you will, to the other Manta, which is at SeaWorld Orlando. As we dive into this duel, we will see some similarities and stark differences between these attractions. Before I say another word, let me take care of the quote-unquote elephant in the room. I know that as soon as this video drops, before I can even get in a word, there will be comments complaining, why are you comparing these two roller coasters? They're completely different and I'm an idiot, yada yada yada. Well, to that I say, oh well. I'm making this video because I thought it would be fun, plus we can find out which Manta is truly the best. Okay, we all know it's the one in Abu Dhabi, but since I've never been there before and chances are those who are watching this video haven't either, let's stick to the two here in the United States. Also, you can do me a favor by clicking on that like button, and if you are new to my channel and love roller coasters, make sure to subscribe. For the first category, we have the ride stats. Looking over both roller coasters side by side, we can see that Manta at SeaWorld Orlando does a clean sweep in all four main categories of height, drop, speed, and length. For the other additional stats of inversions and launches, I will discuss these in a later category. With each stat worth a half point, Manta at SeaWorld Orlando has 2 points, and the other Manta, nothing. Oh, and to keep things more efficient and clear, I will refer to Manta at SeaWorld Orlando as Orlando and Manta at SeaWorld San Diego as San Diego. The view. This point easily goes to Orlando. Traveling up that lift and flying position provides some incredible views of the park. San Diego, on the other hand, barely gets off the ground. Of course, that attraction isn't about the height, but more about the terrain and trenches. Orlando soars through the sky, interacting with the other attractions and pathways below. There's a lot to see as you soar through the air. Queue. Both roller coasters have pretty impressive queue that involves an aquarium. With that said, I think that the one in Orlando is larger and more impressive. Also, that annoying queue once you leave the building at San Diego goes on forever. At least Orlando keeps you out of the sun and inside the aquarium for most of the queue. Theming. I just mentioned the queue, but what about the rest of the ride? San Diego starts off by entering an event room. There's supposed to be projectors displaying the ocean on the wall, providing the simulation of swimming through the water. However, the projector or something wasn't that bright and you could barely make out anything. San Diego also has some nice rock work, and I love how the roller coaster dives into the trench and wraps around the ride sign. The rest of the roller coaster stays low to the ground, not much additional theming except for some nice foliage, and there's also that flamingo exhibit near the second launch and the brake run. Orlando doesn't have too much theming during the first half of the ride, just some nice foliage to look at as you soar through the sky. Once you reach the second half of the ride, that's where Manta gets more involved with the theming. First, you have the water skimming effect as you glide across the edge of the water. Next, the coaster gets close to the ride sign and nearly collides with a waterfall. Depending on where you are seated, you might get a few drops to splash you. The coaster performs an inversion, dives close to the ground, and pops back up onto the brake run. I think Orlando is going to get this point only on the fact that the tunnel at the beginning of the ride on San Diego isn't really working. If that effect was improved, it would easily take this point. Ride intensity. The first launch may be the most intense launch I've experienced on a roller coaster from Mack Rides, but it's still not enough to compete with the pretzel loop on Orlando. These inversions are amongst the most intense elements on a roller coaster. As you dive downwards, flipping onto your back, the G-forces feels like someone is sitting on your chest. Airtime. Orlando is a flying roller coaster, so as far as I can tell, there is no airtime on this ride. San Diego, on the other hand, has a couple pops of airtime throughout its layout. It's not much, but the most notable moment is that first airtime hill after the turnaround through the trench. San Diego gets this point. Ride smoothness. Having been on other roller coasters by Mack Rides, I was expecting San Diego to be butter smooth, but what I got was something more of a shaky ride experience. It's not super bad, but those trains feel very loose, like they could fall apart from all the shaking. Of course, that's not going to happen, but Orlando, on the other hand, is butter smooth. I can't think of a single moment of rattle or headbanging, making it the clear winner of this category. Pacing. Both roller coasters feature a slowdown or mid-course brake run of sorts, so I think it's only fair to call this category a tie. Now, San Diego has that uncomfortable pause before the second launch. Thankfully, Orlando doesn't really slow you down, just a couple seconds of straight track before diving down close to the water. Best Inversion. This category was basically created as a bonus point for Orlando. The best inversion on that roller coaster has to be the pretzel loop, though I am a fan of every inline twist this coaster has to offer. Best Launch. The last category was a bonus for Orlando, while this category is a bonus for San Diego. The ride features 2 launches, with the first launch being the winner. It's a lot more punchy and forceful than I was expecting. I was thinking it would be more something like Copperhead Strike, which that launch is like me slowly accelerating from a stoplight. Manta manages to provide a nice punch, which earns this point. Best Restraint. Both roller coasters feature decent restraint devices, but I think San Diego is going to win this point with a lap bar. Not to say that I have anything wrong with a vest restraint and ankle restraint on Orlando, but when you are in the flying position, sitting on the final brake run waiting to pull into the station, it can get a little uncomfortable. As for San Diego, we did sit on the brake run for a few moments and I didn't think the restraints or seat was uncomfortable, thus earning this point. Okay, the final tally comes to Orlando with 9 points and San Diego with 4 points, making Manta at SeaWorld Orlando the clear winner. After getting my first ride on San Diego, I knew instantly that Orlando was still the better Manta roller coaster. It has so much more going for it. I was quite disappointed with San Diego from the rattle, low-quality event building, and meandering second half of the ride. Now, it does serve well as a nice family coaster, but if I were to compare this to other similar family coasters, say the ones at Dollywood, well, I think Big Bear Mountain would easily take the cake. Well, that does it for this coaster duel. Tell me if you thought this slaughter of a battle was fair or not in the comments. Until next time, this is X Screen Thrills.